Hello class. Today we are going to be finishing up our database project. So if we take a look at what we have so far, we've done our create file, so we're able to create and add new users, and our read file where we can retrieve and find users, right? So if I had a user, find a location from Selma, let's say, we're able to quickly find them. Today we're going to be working on our update file and our delete file. Now, again, I'm going to be providing most of these files. So you're going to be receiving 3 new files. You're going to have delete, update, and single, right? So these 3 new files we're going to be working with those. The update single.php, we're not going to be doing any changes to that one. So I'm just going to copy that one as is. So I'm just going to open up that file from Canvas. I'm going to select all and copy. And in Atom or Note++, wherever you're working with your files, I'm just going to recreate that file, right? So inside my database file, I'm going to go update dash single.php. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste all that code, right? This file we're not going to touch. We're just uploading it with the rest of my files. So I create a new one here. I'm going to save it. And I'm already connected to my FTP. I'm going to refresh my files here. Here it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and upload that file already. Right? The other file we have is going to be our update file. Right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a new file. And it's going to be called update.php. Right? And this file, we are going to make some changes. So again, we're going to open up our file on Atom. Right? So we're going to look for update.php. So we're going to get this from Canvas. Again, I'm going to be providing most of these. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and copy all that code. And then I am going to paste it. Right? And again, we're going to be making some updates to this update.php file, right? So if you scroll up to the top and around line 24, you're going to notice that I added some comments here, right? So just like usual, this file is already bringing in config.php where we store all our database information, and common.php where we have our common statements that we are calling. Right, so pretty much this file is gonna try the connection, right? So it's gonna start a new PHP data object, and again, it's gonna bring in our username, password, and our database, all that stuff that we've already pre-programmed in our config.php file. And then we need to call an SQL statement. So here where I have enter SQL statement, we are going to add an SQL statement, right? In this case, if we want to update the database, we're actually going to want to see maybe all users, right? So we're going to add a simple SQL statement. So just a $SQL equals, and then we're going to have our select, right? And then our asterisk, pretty much select everything from our table users, right? Since we're going to want to edit changes, we just want to say, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a location. It's just, hey, go to this table, users, and from that table, select everything, right? So we're going to go ahead and hit save. And if you scroll down, actually, let's go ahead and upload that file after you hit save and see what happens. So I'm going to refresh my files again. And now I have my update file. I'm going to go ahead and update it. I'm going to upload it. All right. And then I am going to go to my website and refresh it. And again, we're inside our database. So if I go on update now, you notice it shows me all the users, right? So that's great. The connection's working and we're pulling every user. But we're missing the table header, right? The headings for the table. So we don't know this is the name, this is the last name, this is the email. So we're going to go back and add that in our update file, right? So after it selects all the users, it pretty much says, hey, display each result as a table. And in here around line 55, you're going to see that I added a comment that says add table data, right? So inside this table head, we are going to add a table row, right? And then we're going to add some columns. So TH, and then we could say ID number. And then we close that column. And then the next field that we have is the first name. There we go, first name. Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and copy the rest of the code. The next field is gonna be the last name. And again, we could get this information from looking at our MySQL table through PHP. But if we look down here on the code, right, once it connects to the database, we have this PHP statement that says, for each result, we're going to display it as a row. And then it's going to first display as we break it up into columns. And then it's going to display our ID, our first name, our last name, and then we're going to display our email. So now I'm just copying and pasting, and the next field is going to be email. And after that, we have our age, and then our location, lastly our date, and finally our edit. And I'm going to call this modify. You could call it edit or modify or change, right? So we have all these table headings. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Don't forget your close your table row there. Right. So we have our heading, a table row, and all these columns. Now this modify, you notice that what we're also doing at the end is we're calling our update single.php, right? And then we're passing that ID. So if we hit the edit, it's gonna pull up single.php and it's gonna bring up the record which we've selected to edit it for. Go ahead and save it now with our table heading. I'm gonna go back to FileZilla. I'm gonna refresh my update, and then I'm gonna go ahead and upload it. Overwrite. So now if we refresh, we should have our headings above our table here. Perfect. All right, so we have ID number, first name, last name, email, age, location, the date that it was added, and then we're able to modify. Since we've already uploaded the update single.php, for example, if I wanted to select any of these records, let's go with Maria Gonzalez here. If I select edit, it's going to bring up that record and I'm able to modify that record, right? So let's say that maybe her age was wrong. Maybe she was 19 instead of 18. And maybe she wasn't from Fresno, she was from Reedley. And then I'm able to hit submit. And and then it'll let us know Maria was modified successfully. If I go back, so that's working perfect. And if we click on delete, obviously we haven't worked with that file. So let's work on that one next. So again, we're gonna go ahead and create a new file. And we're gonna call this one delete.php. Right, we have this blank file, but through Canvas, you're gonna go look for that file. Right, and you're gonna download it and open it up. And again, we're gonna copy everything on that file. All right, select all, Control A, and then copy. And then we're gonna paste it into our delete file for our database. Again, for this file, we're gonna be making a few updates, not many. So let me see, delete a user, we bring in reconfig, common, and then around line 20, you'll see another comment here. And it says add SQL statement, right? So what this is doing is that if they hit submit, right, it's going to establish the new PHP data object. It's going to connect, and if the ID and the post equals submit, you know, it's going to go ahead and remove that user. So that SQL statement is going to look like this. So we're going to have $SQL equals, and instead of select, we don't want to select anything. In this case, we want to delete. Delete from, right, our users table, where ID equals ID. And semicolon. So you guys notice, just like if you take a look at the previous select statement for when we wanted to read, right, select from user's location where location is location. So hopefully little by little, again, this is not a PHP class, but you guys get a better understanding of how we are connecting to the database, how we are using PHP to connect to the database and retrieve data. But most importantly, especially for those of you guys that have already taken a database class and maybe have worked with SQL statements, you could tell that the SQL doesn't change, right? So we're still selecting and modifying data the exact same way. Eventually, these SQL statements get a little more complex, where you could say, hey, you know, maybe order in a certain way, order ascending or descending, and modify that data all from the SQL statement, right? So once you're done adding that SQL statement, let me see if we need to make any more changes. We already have our table headings here, right? And all we did is, instead of having, in this case, edit, we have delete, right? So whatever ID gets passed on to the statement, right? And then if the ID matches the ID, it gets deleted. We're going to go ahead and save that. And then we are going to refresh first, find our database, our delete file, and then we're going to go ahead and upload. Perfect. And then let's see, we're going to refresh, and we're going to click delete, remove a user, and perfect. It's connecting. It's displaying all the users, and then instead of a modify, we have a delete option. So let's go ahead and delete. I'm going to delete Pedro, and user successfully deleted, right? So let's actually go try to let's read. And Pedro was from Selma, and doesn't show us any users from Selma. And if we go to update, it should show us all our users. So we notice that Pedro is gone. Perfect. So we have been able to create the database. You know, we're able to create, add a user, find users, edit users, and remove users. Again, this is not PHP, but hopefully you guys could kind of take a look at that code and realize how easy it is to modify, and you could easily apply that to any project or any other small database where you want to, you know, have data in a database, retrieve it, and display it on a website. Lastly, let's go ahead and add a little bit of styling. Ideally, I would want to go ahead and make this a full-blown website with links and buttons and a whole user interface. But let's just go ahead and at least do something a little bit simpler, since we do know CSS now. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to bring in Bootstrap again. We could always go ahead and create an external style sheet. But I'm actually just going to go to templates, and we're going to go ahead and open up our header, right? And we're already linking to our style sheet, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring in our link, the Bootstrap from the content delivery network. So if we go to Bootstrap, we go to home, right? And if we only want the CSS, right, we could just call it from the CDN, right? And then I'm going to add a link to Bootstrap, right? So in our header template, we have a link to Bootstrap, which now allows me to easily just do some Bootstrap in here. So let's add this. Let's put this in a container. Right, and then we're going to put this in a row. Div class so we have one div for our container and another one for our row. Let's see, so instead of an unordered list, we're going to get some buttons in here instead. So I'm going to delete everything that has to do with the list. All right, so I got rid of all the LIs. And then I'm just going to reference the Bootstrap buttons. There we go. So if I go to Bootstrap, buttons. All right, so different colors. And the sizes, I want them to be big. There we go. So class button, button primary, and button large. And I'm just going to make this add a user. Perfect. Let's take a look, save it, and see how that looks. Go to FileZilla, refresh my files, look for index, and upload. So now if and it's not working. So let me see. Oh, we forgot to upload our templates header. So don't forget where we linked the CSS, our header, we gotta upload. So let me actually go up one file. So templates I'm gonna upload as well, because that's where we are linking the CSS from. And then now we refresh. There we go. So we have our headings are now the default Bootstrap headings, and there's our first button, add a user. And let me go ahead and change the other ones. So we have button large. So all I'm doing is copying the class and the type. Right. And like, obviously we've taken a look at the colors. So like delete, I can maybe do like button danger. Right, and then for warning and info and success. So for delete, instead of button primary, I'm gonna do button danger. That's gonna make it red. Update, I'm gonna make it button warning. And then this one we're gonna do success for green. All right, lastly, we are gonna, we're gonna need to space them out. So we're gonna do MX Auto. So we're gonna add the MX Auto class. This will give them a margin to the left and to the right. It's gonna automatically calculate that. So MX Auto, and then add a user. We're gonna change the titles on these. Find. Find a user. Edit. A user. Delete a user. I'm gonna save. Refresh our index. Upload it. And let's see how it looks. So now if we go back home, beautiful. So we have add a user. That works great. Find a user. Edit. And delete. Let's also use, our tables look pretty ugly. Let's also go ahead and use a little bit of Bootstrap with those. And even if we modify at least one page. Let's see. So we just need to use the table, class, and then, for our table headings, that'll be good. T-head dark. Perfect. So this is where Bootstrap really comes in handy, right? You could just easily make some changes really quick. Let's do it to update. We have a table there, so we're going to scroll down. And here we go, table. So we're on line 51 and update.php. All we need to do is add the class table, right into our table heading, class T-head dark. We're going to save that. We're going to refresh our files, go to update, upload, and refresh our page, and update was edit a user. Perfect. So now you guys notice we get a nicer looking table, and eventually we could keep modifying this and adding a little bit of Bootstrap, changing the headings, changing the buttons, and getting a really, really nice looking page.